Hello and welcome to our next history lesson. So today we're thinking about King Arthur and thinking about whether he is fact or fiction or how true his story is. So our date and our LO today is to evaluate historical sources. So pause this video, write the date and LO in your book and then press play when you're ready to continue. Okay, let's get started. So first of all we're going to think about what we've learned about Arthur so far. And then we're going to research Arthur, and then we're going to write a letter from Arthur. Okay, so let's have a think about what we know about the story of Arthur so far. Pause the video and have a think. So far in our reading, we know that Arthur was magically pulled a sword from a stone, from a solid stone, and that's how he became king. We also know that he was very close to someone called Merlin, who was a wizard. And we know that he also, what else do we know? Hello and welcome to our next history lesson. Today we're thinking all about King Arthur and whether he is fact or fiction, or how much of his story is fact or fiction. So pause this video, write the date and LO, and then press play when you're ready to continue. Okay, so first of all we're going to think about what we know about the story of Arthur so far. Then we're going to be doing some research into Arthur, and then we're going to be writing a letter from Arthur telling the truth about him. Okay, let's get started. So what do we know so far about the story of Arthur? Pause the video and have a think. Okay, so we know so far that Arthur was the king of Uther Pendragon and he was taken away by Merlin to grow up somewhere safe. When he was old enough, he then magically pulled a sword from solid stone. Pretty amazing. And that is how he became the king. Now, this sounds pretty unbelievable, doesn't it? Pulling a sword from a stone. And in history, there's not a lot of mention of Arthur or who he really was, because actually in Anglo-Saxon times there wasn't a lot of there weren't many records like we have now. So it's very tricky to find out who Arthur really was. Now, the first mention of Arthur was in a poem, and it was actually mentioned to somebody, a warrior called Gwadur, and he was said to be a great warrior, but he was no Arthur. That's the first mention of Arthur. There was no other information about him. All we know is it said he was no Arthur. So whoever this Arthur was, he must have been the gold standard of warrior, an amazing warrior. Arthur was also mentioned in 1130, so hundreds of years after Arthur was supposed to be alive. And somebody called Geoffrey of Monmouth used poetry and stories to create a historical book about magical kings. So it wasn't really historical, it was just that he used lots of poems and things from history to create a book, and all of his kings were magical. And like we said, there's no official records of Arthur at all, so it's really tricky to know how true his stories were. Now, if Arthur did live, he was mostly likely to be a military leader, a great warrior, but we don't really know whether he was king. Some sources say that he was a king and he actually defended his land from the Anglo-Saxons. So let's see what else we can find out. What I'd like you to do is now to do some research. So I've got a link here which you are going to type into your internet search, and you're going to write some notes or have a read of the information, and I would like your notes to be split into fact or fiction. So what things do you think are true, are definitely facts, and what things can you find out that are probably not true, fiction? When you type the link into your internet search, you should come up with this page. Now, there's some information here all about Arthur. So there's an introduction, there's information about the real Arthur and the legend. So what I'd like you to do, once you've split your page in two and you've got fact and fiction on either side of it, I'd like you to have a read of this website and put some notes in each side of which things that you think are facts and things that you think are not true, fiction. If you're struggling to read it, you can also press this play button here and someone will read it to you. So press pause, write down some notes and press play when you're ready to continue. So hopefully you have got some ideas now about the things in Arthur's life that were true and some things that maybe have been made up over time. What we're going to do now is we're going to use our notes to tell the truth about King Arthur. You are going to pretend that you are the king himself, the Arthur himself. And you are going to write a letter to the writers and authors of the world to tell them that actually, really, you're not this magical king, you're really just a very good military soldier. So here's my example. Dear writers and authors of the world, for centuries the legend of King Arthur has been told and history has shown me to be a magical king. This couldn't be further from the truth. I am writing you this letter to tell you the truth about my story. It is known by most that I came to the throne by pulling a sword from a stone. Have you ever tried to pull a sword from a stone? It's impossible. I could be the most disciplined warrior in the world and I could still not pull a sword from a stone. Please, I implore you, stop spreading these lies about me. I am merely an accomplished soldier who is sick and tired of being put on a pedestal. Yours sincerely, Arthur. So this is my example. Let's have a look a bit closer at some of the things I've included. Okay, so because it's a letter, I've started with dear, and I've decided to write to all the writers and the authors of the world. So dear writers and authors of the world, and then I've made sure I've put a comma after. I've then left a line, and then I've got my introductory paragraph. Now, I haven't written an introduction, I don't need to do that, but this paragraph tells the reader, the writers and the authors of the world, what my letter is about. And my letter is to put the story straight. So that's what I've explained in there. Then I've got my explanation paragraph where I explain some of the things that people know about me and how it is not true. So in this case, I've used the example of pulling the sword from the stone. And then my final paragraph is a conclusion where I ask them to stop spreading these lies about me. And then because it's a letter, I finish with yours sincerely, Arthur. So I've got paragraphs, I've got features of letter like dear and yours sincerely. I've also included a rhetorical question. So this question here, have you ever tried to pull a sword from a stone? This, I really don't want an answer to it, but it just makes the reader think that actually, yes, it's impossible. Nobody could pull a sword from a stone. And I've also written in the first person, because remember, we're pretending we are Arthur. So it's now your job to write a letter like mine explaining that Arthur wasn't magical from the point of view of Arthur. So we're pretending to be Arthur. So make sure that you write in paragraphs. You include features of a letter. You might want to include a rhetorical question, and you're writing in the first person. Now, if you need some support, here is an outline of what you need to be writing in your letter. And if you'd like a challenge, then try and include all the steps to success and try and include more than one explanation. So try and use another another story from Arthur that is not true. Pause this video now, have a go at writing your letter. Okay, well done. If you'd like me to see your work, then take a picture of it and send it in to school. Well done today, and I'll see you for the next lesson. Bye.